The Kashmir Files is on the verge of being one of the most profitable ventures that Bollywood has ever seen, eyeing to do close to 150 crores and more in its lifetime box office business. This movie has got the resounding support of the majority of the country and has produced a lot of debates in the process. After looking at the reactions, the comments of my review, the misguided abuse I was getting, and considering the criticism, I thought of watching the movie again and addressing a lot of the aspects of the film that I still stand by, and fleshing out some details about the film that I could not mention in the review, as it then would have spoiled the storyline of the film. This is a spoiler filled discussion about the movie and its reaction, so I've warned you about the same. I think what I imbibed from the film still stays true when I gave the review of this movie. It generates two things from within me, and which I believe is the bare minimum that the Kashmiri Pandit community deserves and seeks for. Number one is acknowledgement that the traumatic event in 1990 did take place, and that a community for no fault of theirs was unnecessarily targeted, and secondly, empathy for the very fact that this community represented individuals who were active members of society that were highly educated and contributed immensely to the working class of the country, yet were targeted at a time where the state was ravaged by militancy and an absolute lack of administration. I see many people debating about the statistics of the numbers of lives that were lost in the Kashmiri Pandit community, almost discrediting its grave impact by depending on official numbers as if it changes the gruesome circumstances that they otherwise underwent. I think this becomes an argument that actually ridicules the magnitude of the travesty, almost dismissive of the same because it accounted for a small number. You can never really objectively state the intention of the creator. People have flung theories owing to Vivek Agnihotri's political beliefs, but I cannot categorically say the impact he wanted to have with this film. Getting into hypotheticals, if the film's intention was to shed light on the genocide as it was barely covered by mainstream media and not given its due attention, and to generate genuine empathy for the community, then I fully support that sentiment. But if the intention is to generate hate that fuels the fire of the already polarized world we live in today, specifically against the Muslim community, I do not prescribe to that at all. Fringe elements that go up in arms in theaters delivering hateful speech towards a specific community is something that I don't want to give even attention to, because that's what they thrive on and it should not be encouraged at all. The varied responses regarding the film, however, provided me even more clarity about what I feel about films in this nation across the spectrum. If the discourse is about movies based on real life events, then I think every film should exist and be judged, analyzed, and deciphered by the audience. If a movie like Heather can present its subplot of half-widows and extrajudicial killings under the umbrella of Hamlet, then I think the Kashmir Files should exist, highlighting the plight faced by the Kashmiri Pandit community in 1990. I had tweeted this recently that this boycott and cancel culture regarding films do not exist only is against the very foundation of our country's principles. And you should stand with this statement not only when a film aligns with your political beliefs, but even when it challenges it. While films like Kissa Kursi Ka and Andhi were banned in the 70s, in the 21st century, movies like Parzania and Firak were also banned in certain states, something that sets a bad precedent of what the masses can and cannot watch. So in my eyes, films across the spectrum should exist for the ultimate call to be taken by the audience to either celebrate it or reject it entirely. What is as black and white to me about the film even after the second viewing is that despite Vivek Agnihotri clubbing a lot of events together in quick succession, it still gets the desired message across that what the community endured was inhumane despite the gaps that may exist in the various points of the film. Now let's get to the characters and especially the clear real life influences that they have sprouted from. Chinmay Mandlekar playing the role of Farooq Malik Bitta, who I didn't give enough credit to for his haunting portrayal, is exceptional, and this character is an amalgamation of Bitta Karate and Yasin Malik. His scene where he admits to killing over 30 plus Kashmiri Pandits is from the News Track documentary that you can see online, and his gaslighting tactics with Darshan Kumar's character Krishna Pandit when he comes for information are inspired by many of Yasin Malik's statements in public interviews. Pallavi Joshi playing the role of Radhika Menon is a combination of Arundhati Roy and JNU professor Nivedita Menon. Everyone was sending me the photograph of Arundhati Roy and Yasin Malik together at an event, as I had called the association far-fetched, but most of you misunderstood me. The association itself was not the far-fetched part, but the very fact that a terrorist in his hideout would have a framed photograph with her posing like a Bollywood movie in full display. That was a bit on the nose. The speech given by Pallavi Joshi's character is identical to that of Nivedita Menon, stating that Kashmir is illegally occupied by India. Where I think creative freedom treaded in a path less believable was when Pushkar Nath Pandit, played by Anupam Kher, was asking for the abrogation of Article 370 while being in the refugee camp, an event that is not available in the documentary by Newstrack, voiced by anyone, and a concept that had not yet developed into becoming a vociferous talking topic. I think it was a means to make a moment from the film relevant to the current discourse. I still think the film has been beautifully shot, a Kashmir that is devoid of any color and joy. You can genuinely feel the lack of hope that exists in every frame. I still think that they should release the chilling sequence of the truck as a melancholic song plays in the background, to their horror, revealing that the poet that housed and protected them has been killed as well. Where I can give credit to the criticism that I did not expand upon in my initial review is that Krishna's switch by just Mithun handing over the files of the atrocities endured is abrupt and rather quick. It's assumed that the man read the articles and then is fully prepared with his speech as if he did a crash course in having a full understanding of the complexities of the valley. Darshan Kumar exceptionally performs the last act in this film. However, his journey from figuring out what happened to his family and the ultimate reveal to transform his mindset is extremely quick. Talking just lastly about the various reactions that have generated after this film released, I wanted to talk about a few things. Giving IMDb credibility in this case while dismissing it in others is rather convenient. We know of the several ratings the website had generated even before movies released. Reviews for certain movies go out dismissing it as trash even before it is available to the public. Emotions run high with a film like Kashmir Files, which is based on real events, but while I absolutely connected with the film and was left speechless with its execution, I still won't, just because of the untold chapter of history that it highlights, from a craft standpoint rank it higher than Schindler's List. A film that even after 29 years stays strong as a film, both in terms of storytelling and technical prowess. Anupam Kher's performance was really good in this film, but I get so uncomfortable that the moment an actor in India does something out of the ordinary or different, then they give validity to the comparisons with Heath Ledger. Anupam Kher is a great actor, but always bringing up Heath Ledger when someone takes a risk is getting rather tiring. The politics of these ghastly acts committed against the Kashmiri Pandit community may get muddled, but you cannot simply deny their occurrence. It's disrespectful to even trivialize it by making it about just numbers rather than talk about the acts themselves. The worst of the lot has to be the verified accounts on Twitter posting the last podcast episode of The Late Take with me and Anupama Chopra and only editing the part where she clarifies her stand regarding the film, and I just nod and let her speak. People slung hateful messages towards me because they didn't know I have a weekly podcast with her since early 2020 and assumed that I had a random interview with her on Kashmir Files, and I had the same stance with her as they posted only the 1-minute footage. I will put the link of the Instagram session where we discuss the Kashmir Files and Radhe Shyam, a 20-minute episode by the way, where I clearly communicated the same stance that I had about Kashmir Files when I took out the review on YouTube. It's crazy on how certain social media handles edit a video can present you a totally different light to suit their narrative while not presenting the entire picture. The resounding support this film is getting is as clear as day, and even after his second viewing I can say that the film worked for me from a storytelling point of view in order to shed light on a part of history barely covered and generated genuine empathy for a community that suffered for no fault of theirs. The hateful venom that some people are spilling out towards a specific community as a byproduct of this film is something that I will never support and understand, as that should never be the motive of the movie.